Scorching show.
The Gold Cup, gentlemen. That's what's up next for our national team, for the men in particular. Before we get into their opponents, so we know who their opponent's going to be. June 27th is when they kick things off at BMO Field. It's now going to be Guadalupe. We know that. But before we get to that, I want to switch it a little bit here, and I want to talk new faces on this Canadian Gold Cup roster. And I want you guys to share who you want your starting 11 to be. And we knew that this was going to be a different Gold Cup roster. We had already know, like Alfonso Davies had already come out and said that he wasn't going to be there. We knew guys like Jonathan David, Tajon Buchanan, Kyle Larin, like your heavy hitters just needed a break. They either needed to rest or, they would possibly move this summer and have to report to their team. We're on watch. So we know that there are a lot of faces, new faces here. So I'm going to start with you, Wheels. Before we get into the expectation against Guadalupe, I think it matters who you think is going to be on the pitch or who you'd like to see on the pitch for Canada.
Yes.
So what does your starting 11 look like?
Yeah, so this is my team of players that I would like to see on the field together for various reasons. I'm not sure if this will be a starting 11, but this is a type of starting 11 that I'd like to see for the team to be competitive, as well as kind of bringing in new blood into the team. So here we go. Whether it's against Guadalupe at BMO Field or not, I got to see what McGill can do as a goalkeeper. Like, Borjan is getting a little bit older. Is Dane Sinclair the option? Who is the heir apparent in this team? I like three at the back. I'm keeping Vittori in there because I actually think he's Canada's best defender. And if you're going to bring in two new players to the program like McGraw and Bombito, who I think will both get an extended look in this tournament, then having a little bit of experience around them, I think that might make that transition into the national team a little bit easier. Larea and Liam Miller on the left-hand side. It's time for Miller to get an extended run in this team. He's been buried behind the likes of Fonzie and others. He's playing at a decent level as well, did well in the Conference League this year. So I like Miller. This is the thinnest area of the park for me, guys. Eustachio automatically starts. Luturi and Osorio, based upon their standing in the team from previous windows, might get the look, but it's kind of the area that's a little bit thin. And I think that a lot of the experienced players that we've seen in this team up top, we know what they bring to the table. Brim has generally just come on as a substitute for Canada. I want to see what he looks like from the start, alongside a 20-year-old player in Jason Russell-Rowe, a player that's done very well at Columbus. You need to figure out who you have in terms of your secondary options in attack. I think it's time that front line gets freshened up. So I think that this team can be competitive. I think that there's a little bit of balance between experience and new blood coming into the team.
Yeah, I like your take, obviously, on the goalkeeper. I'd like to see Dane Sinclair only because you need to see who your goalkeeper is going to be in 2026 for that World Cup. Jordan, who's your starting, or who would you like to see as your starting 11?
Wheels, I like your team, man. We've been spending a lot of time together. Not that you should go for my approval, be you. I just wanted to give you some encouragement. I like it. I like pal. Manager Wheels. There's a few things I would change, just a little bit. So we're looking at my team. I think Sinclair has to start for me. It's time to see. Yes, Borjan has been, for qualifying round, has been sensational. But look, you need to sharpen that area. You need to also have competition. Playing Dane and seeing what he can do, that's what is going to allow competition for me. Now, I want to specify. I do agree with Wheels in terms of if you're going to start a game and you want to see and mix and match, I don't think you should do a lot of switches in the back. So I was going in and out of having Victoria in the middle and maybe having McGraw to the right or Zator. But look, these are the two guys I want to see with McGraw and Zator playing. One McGraw playing in the middle, 6'4", big frame, similar to Victoria, but just I think more athletic. Can cover more ground. I really want to see him in that middle role. See what he can bring. Obviously, you know what Kamal Miller can do, and Adekugbe on that left side. But Zator, for me, I've watched him develop in terms of passing and playing the ball forward. But this is a guy that you're getting who has legs, who will track back, who will win his duels, and will just keep things simple. I really want to see him step up and see that level. And I know this is also something personally that he wants to add to and bring to the game. Having Larea obviously on the side with you, that helps a lot. Give homeboy the ball and he'll take care of it. The middle three, obviously, Wheels, there's no deviating from that. Eustachio has to play. Luturi at Ross County had a great season, but has tremendous potential. Osorio, however you want to spin it, playing the 10, playing in between the lines, he's got to play there. Brim, I agree with you, Wheels, in terms of he's always coming off the bench. At FC Eindhoven, he has quality. You can see what he could do. What is that like if you're playing a bit under a Cavallini, or even if you're playing 2 up top, it doesn't matter, but he's naturally going to come and get the ball at his feet, maybe going behind, but someone to just cause a little havoc in and around the box. And then Cavallini, for me, I want to start him to see, look, do you still have it in the tank? Are you committed? Are you going to be, if you start and come into games, are you going to be scoring goals and causing havoc? These are question marks we need to know, I think, from this tournament going forward with this team, because you need someone to come off the bench, whether it be Brim or Cavallini, when all the marbles are out and all the players are there. You need someone that you know for 30 minutes is going to cause havoc. I just want to know which one of those guys, if not both, who are they going to be?
Okay. Ollie, you're up to round it out.
Some similarities, I think, between all 3 of our teams. I'm just going to wait for the graphics to come up here so I can remember who I've actually got in mind. All right, here's again, this is a team that is more kind of guys I'd like to see than what I think is going to be realistically picked in an individual game. But I want to see these centre backs. Like, he's picked a lot of them, so I think Herdman's going to play 3 at the back. And I'd like to see what the options are here. I think Dominic Zator, we need to start giving some minutes and giving an opportunity to, because he, to me, is the most natural kind of backup to Alistair Johnston. They've used Kennedy over there, who I don't think looks particularly comfortable as a naturally left-footed player on the right-hand side. Bombiso gets a lot of talk about how exciting he is as a prospect. I think he will get chances, and then McGraw as well, playing regularly in MLS, is someone who could come in and potentially compete for a place in the full-strength starting lineup if he can impress at this tournament. So some similar names there. Laturi as well in midfield, I think we'll get an opportunity. Further forward is what's most interesting to me in terms of what John Herdman sees here and what he's kind of thinking about in terms of his attacking 3 or whatever kind of system he puts out there. I've got Ali Ahmed at a bit more of an advanced role. He could be a wing-back option as well. I'd like to see him get some opportunities at this tournament. And then, will we see a lot of Jason Russell-Rowe, who's still kind of making his way in MLS? Charles Andreas Brim, I think, will obviously be one who gets more of a look, like Will said, than he has done in previous squads. But for me, I think they're still going to be leaning on players like Hoyle and Cavallini with their experience to get them through a tournament like this. So I take more interest, to be honest with you, in some of the defensive options that he's picked and the goalkeeper as well, than I do in the attacking players. I'm not sure there's so many in the squads that are going to be kind of immediate contributors for Canada going into September and beyond.
So for this Gold Cup, Canada is in a group with Cuba, Guadeloupe, Guatemala. So they will take on, as we said, Guadeloupe is the team that earned its right to be taking part in this Gold Cup. I'll come back to you, Wheels. Expectations in that first match, maybe expectations overall, given now we see the players who Herdman has named.
They win. They should beat Guadeloupe. No doubt about that. They should win this group. To be honest with you, some very good teams in this tournament. Jamaica's locked and loaded. The Americans will still be good. It's like basically like an MLS All-Star team, but they should be decent enough. Mexico will be strong, but I think Jamaica might be the best of the bunch. But you should go on and win this group. Like, look, I think there's room for experiment, but there's still some very good players in this Canada team, especially that first game you're playing at home. Like, I get that sometimes, there's a process of transition, but it's not as if every player in the team is changing. 7 players in, 7 players out, and players that are screaming out for an opportunity. I'll still look at a player like Liam Miller, highly regarded, came up, was very well regarded, seemed to be that he would be a fixture in this Canadian men's national team. This is his time to shine. If you're any one of these players, this is your time to make an impression and show that you belong, not only now, but on the road to 2026. And I think that there's enough quality in this Canada team to go on and depending on who they meet in the knockout rounds of this tournament, but this is a team that should have their eyes for a semifinal or final. No doubt about that.
Play for the shirt.
Jordan.
Simple. Play for the shirt. See, Trills, I went before you even asked me. I'm being eager. Play for the shirt. You obviously coming off of a disappointing night Sunday where you just expected more from Canada, but this is where we're at. We talk about this football nation, how it's growing. It's like competing in every tournament, competing in every game. These names, I picked Zator just because I know him personally. These are guys that have been in and around the club in and around the squad and want to represent the country at a major tournament, at a major stage. We should see that when we watch it. We shouldn't be in doubt of, ooh, is this guy 1 foot in, 1 foot out? We should know that you want to play and you want to be in the mix for the 26. And Wheels, we talk about all the time. If we were younger and we had an opportunity, how we'd love to just play a minute for Canada. I want to see that. I want to see these guys playing for the shirt. I want to see them playing for the badge. And then the other stuff we can talk about later, tactics, where do you play, this and that. But the desire and the wanting to put on the white and red and sometimes the black jersey, I want to see that from the boys.
Yeah, and let's be honest, like the last Gold Cup, they were down some of their top players as well. And they went through and they beat Costa Rica in that competition. They put the Mexico to the 99th minute. So I don't think there's a big excuse about not having all your players. Obviously, they're not going to be as good as they could be just in terms of natural talent on the field. But there's enough in this team to go deep in this tournament for me.
Yeah, I think the group stage should be 3 convincing wins for Canada at this stage. I know it's not a full-strength squad, but there's still massive superiority to the teams they're facing. What's interesting about this tournament for Canada is that the trade-off for having that easy group stage, to be honest with you, is that the knockout stage could be really difficult. They're going to probably play, or almost certainly play, Jamaica or USA in the quarterfinals, and to win the tournament, there's every chance they'll have to beat Jamaica, Mexico, and the United States, all the 3 teams that Wills mentions that do look strongest on paper. So it's going to be interesting to see how Herdman kind of manages the group stage in terms of squad rotation. Maybe there's a potential advantage there for Canada in that they might be able to manage their team through the group a little bit better to then be fresher for 3 games in 7 days in the knockout stage, potentially.